Any second. Here we go. Awesome. Welcome everybody to this impromptu live between myself and no one face on the group, Barry Oulton. We are here to talk today about how to make your dental practice more profitable, because this is something we haven't yet covered in as much detail as I would like. And who better to speak to than the man who does it regularly on a regular basis for other dentists. He is a profitable practice coach. Maybe that is your title, maybe it isn't, but I anoint you today, Barry, officially profitable practice coach, and you're here to tell us about all of the things that I have just mentioned just a minute ago. How are you today, my friend?
I'm awesome. I've never been called a profitable practice coach
That's
before.
good. I think that's stuck, That works. That works, right?
I quite like that, mate. I'll have that. I'll have that.
It's all
Yeah,
yours.
I'm really good.
Awesome.
I'm really good. Today is a coaching day for my profitable practices and my
Hey,
principles. So
I
yeah,
love it. I love it.
it's actually something I'm quite happy to talk about. We've got a number of strategies that we help our clients with, to be honest. And I guess that I cherry picked them from when I owned my practices. So inputting those systems really helps people a lot. And I think there's a lot going on in dentistry at the moment. I think there's a lot of people struggling in many ways, to be perfectly honest. I don't know what you've seen, but certainly people that reach out to me, there's a lot of people struggling.
Well, am I right in saying there's two things I just like to mention quickly, but am I right in saying that that post-COVID private boom is now waning somewhat? Is that fair? Is that what you've observed?
I would say that partly, I would say yes. I think people are patients are beginning to become more cautious. We know that there's a massive recession about to hit us in the next, I don't know, 12 months or so. It's going to be big, isn't it? And actually, our mastermind, for our mastermind clients, we've got our mastermind next week, 2 days, which is how to recession proof, because the strategies that you can do now that will impact and actually how you can be successful as a dental practice through a recession. I've done 2 of those myself, and I've learned from them. I've learned what not to do, but I've also learned what to do. So yes, I think that massive boom that we went through has definitely started to reduce. I'm seeing a lot of practices struggle right now to achieve their UDAs. I think there's quite a struggle and a stretch for a lot of NHS practices who were not, they didn't have to achieve 100%, did they? And now they're in that situation. There's a lot of them struggling. But realistically, I think the biggest thing I'm seeing, quite honestly, James, is I'm seeing a lot of practitioners who are super, super busy, and they're struggling actually to make decent money. So it's almost like they're so busy that they're not making money. And that's a lot of what we're doing, is helping some clients to implement some really simple changes that have an immediate massive impact on their income, that then makes it stronger for everybody, them, the team, the patients, everybody. Because at the end of the day, we're running a business, right? And if we don't have a successful practice, we don't have a practice. And the aim of the game is to serve our patients at a deep level. We've got to be there in order to do that. So I genuinely believe that by helping principals, I'm actually helping patients, because if I help the principal be more successful, then they're able to serve their patients better. So I'm seeing busy people not really achieving what it is that they'd like to achieve.
On that, just harkening back to the thing that I alluded to about a minute and a half ago, I said there was two things that I wanted to briefly cover. The first is what we've just said, and then the second thing was pre-framing or contextualizing everything we're about to say afterwards with, this is the quickest way that you can put money in your hands, is if you get the glistening asset that you have in your hand correct, you can run it correctly, you can run it efficiently, which is your dental practice, right?
Yeah.
People think investing is where you make the quick bucks. Actually, investing is what you do with your money once you already have it.
Yeah.
What are the things, there's a saying that I absolutely love, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, because I'm sure I've said this on so many podcasts before, but it's just an absolute gem, and it really reframes how I look at knowledge and how I look at information, or certainly really reframed things for me going forwards from the day that I heard it. And that
Yeah,
saying is, wisdom is not sold by the hour, wisdom is sold on value. And what that
love it.
means, it's cool, right? And it just, I'm like, whoa, because we can literally get on a podcast and somebody might have been struggling with something for weeks, months, years, that one little unlock, that one piece of wisdom that you hear in a podcast, right? And it's solved in 5 minutes, right? And you could spend 70 hours with someone who's never heard this before and not really get anywhere. There's nothing that you can glean from that conversation. But that is the really exciting stuff that can literally put money in your hands. That doesn't actually come from investing. That comes from creating wealth, the methods that you use to do that, i.e. your job or your business. And that's what we're here to talk about today.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, it is the business, and it's actually quite it's simple, really. It's not easy, but it's simple to knock your patient's socks off, deliver an incredible patient journey, and have a very financially viable business that throws off enough money for you to do what you want, with whom you want, when you want. And it's actually not that difficult. I think very often, and clearly things that I've posted have been quite polarizing. Some people have not liked some of the things that I've said, and other people have liked some of the things that I've said. So that'll be the same with anything I say to you, really, right? So for me, it is quite simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. And when you input the systems and you run the systems, they just damn well work. And so I think the problem is you don't know what you don't know. And most principals are accidental business owners. Most of us didn't go to university to be a business owner. We went to be a dentist, a bloody good dentist. We went to go to dentistry because we wanted to serve people and help them and make them smile and, make a good income. But most dental business owners become accidental business owners. And so they've never been taught how to run a business or what a P&L is. And most of the clients that I speak to are a year and a bit behind on knowing what their cash flow is, and they don't have monthly management accounts. They're not understanding the essence of how to really run that business. They are brilliant at doing dentistry. They might be good at talking to patients. My original training course was about communication. And again, people think, they hear the word NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and some people are like, oh, I'm really intrigued by that. And other people are like, oh, that's manipulative. But in actual fact, it's not. It's about being able to talk to patients in their model of the world to help them make better choices. So for me, my thing is helping principals, A, with the simple systems of running a business, and B, understanding how to help their patients make better choices. And so that is holding the hand of the patient, talking to them in a way that they understand. And I don't mean simple English. I mean how they process information in their model of the world, and stepping into their model of the world so that you can communicate more clearly, and opening up the possibility that patients might choose to do more once-based dentistry, if that makes sense. So actually, there's some simple steps. So I'm seeing two different types of dentists at the moment. I'm seeing those dentists that are really busy and they're very happy with what they've got. They're very happy with their lot, and they're not worried about what's ahead of us in the next 12 to 24 months. And then I'm seeing a lot more other dentists who are working their backsides off, not realizing that, they're spending a lot of time and not generating what it is that they want. They're not getting the income that they want, even though they're working so flipping hard. And that they are worried about what's going to happen in the next 24, 48 months and the knock-on effect of that. And those are the people that I can help. Those people that are happy with their lot, happy days, crack on, keep doing what you're doing, rinse and repeat. And just know that, just double check in with yourself that what you are doing will work in 24 months when the proverbials hit the fan. Everybody else is systemizing, understanding how you can generate a much higher income and turnover from your existing patient base. You don't really need new patients. There's just simple ways of helping patients make better choices. And so, yeah, it's an exciting time for what we do. And I think we'll be even busier in the next 12, 24 months, because not least can we help people become, bulletproof for that period of time, but actually help people get out of trouble when they start to slide a bit, which I think is inevitable for some businesses.
From experience, having been to many practices that are doing well, doing not so well, if you had a tick list of the things that you could put up, you could display, and you could say, this is your 101 list of common areas where I see issues in dental practices. These are the low-hanging fruits. These are the things that I can improve almost straight away from working with you. What would that tick list be? What are the recurring themes across dental practices?
That is a great question, and it's a question that we asked ourselves. When I say we, there's a team of 4 of us. There's myself, there's my business partner Zachary, who is an outstanding coach, and he's all about outcomes. It's interesting that you said earlier on, about wisdom, and it's about value, is that he wants to get clients the best result in the quickest amount of time. And then there's Sally, my PA, who you've met, and then there's Tom, who does our tech and the funnels for our clients and so on and so forth. And we actually sat down and said, right, how can we help people? So week number 2 of we run a mastermind where we have 3 lives in person a year. We have weekly coaching calls, and we have content that we drip feed, and we have, for each individual client, we have a personalized portal for their practice, for their whole team, where they can track that each team member is running through the training course material. Week number 2 is called Quick Wins. And it's how do we support you and help you in immediately increasing your income right now that will make an impact and help you over the next few months, whilst you then implement the things that may take a bit more time. So the quick wins are resurrecting treatment plans, is going through the database and reigniting that which haven't done it. Typically, on average, we notice that principals are around about £68,000 worth of diagnosed treatment plan treatment that hasn't been done. Quick wins are price increases. Now, I work at the moment as an associate. So for those that don't know me, I'm a dentist for 29 hours of the week. I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in what used to be my practice. I sold it into a corporate so that I could do more coaching and help more people and take what I learned out into other people's practice, because I'm not special. We set out, James, to really knock the socks off our patients. We set out, my wife and I, Chloe, who is my TCO, we set out to create the best patient journey we possibly could. And I truly believe that we did. And the systemized approach that we have to it, we accidentally made a lot of money. We accidentally created a practice where it was me and a hygienist. I worked 3.5 days a week, and we grossed just under 1.1 million. No implants, no ortho, right? It's easy nowadays to get a practice up to 1 million turnover when you're doing Invisalign and things like that. But that doesn't give you necessarily the profit. But that was a 1.1 mil turnover with no ortho, no implants. And it was that made me realize that I've got something to share to help people. And by the way, there was no marketing for 18 years. We had 30 new patients a month without any marketing.
Wow.
And so that's now what I share with people is, how do you generate an amazing patient journey and accidentally make more money? And that's it. You focus on service. So what are the quick wins is increase your fees, but the fees that aren't obvious. So I work in this corporate and they've put all the fees up, and literally yesterday, my receptionist came up. She's been with me. Claire's been with me nearly 20 years. And she said, Barry, everybody's complaining about the fees. And that's because the mothership has basically hiked the fees up that are very obvious. So hygiene fees, exam fees, all the things that actually are, not as productive, but they could easily increase things like crowns, bridges, dentures, implant restorations, extractions, all of these things that you could put your prices up on. And so the first thing I get my clients to do is to cherry pick certain things to increase their prices today, immediately,
Yeah.
that are not going to be balked at by the patient because they're part of a treatment plan. When you add value and you're talking to a patient and it's all about value, then the cost becomes irrelevant. You said it yourself. You know, if somebody is questioning the price of something, that's because they're not seeing the value of it. Price is very rarely the problem. It's the perception of value. And if you're not talking value about yourself, if you're not feeling your worth, we spoke off camera earlier on that people you work with as well is the case of, you know, you got people that have been qualified for 30 years charging half the fees of somebody that did their FD a year ago. And it's about their own self-worth, their belief in what they can provide, and it's about what they believe they should be paid for their experience, their time, their consideration, and the journey that they're providing. So put your fees up is one. A big one that will take a little bit of time to filter through, but the way that we teach our clients to zone their diaries, no word of a lie, typically doubles turnover. And it's crazy. The majority of dentists are super busy doing recall exams and little bits of dentistry, single tooth dentistry. And then I spoke to a client the other day who is struggling. He is booked up until January for anybody that wants anything other than a simple filling. And the problem with that is that he's so busy, it's strangling his production.
Mm-hmm.
And so zoning, we have 7 zones in our diary that ensures that as an associate, my aim is to gross turnover is to bring between £3,000 and £6,000 into the business before lunchtime. And that's what I do. If you were to, and I have no qualms in sharing figures, right?
Mm-hmm.
As an associate, I grossed last month £68,500 on 3 days a week. No implants, and a couple of cases a month of short-term ortho. I use Smile Line by S4S, little plug. But I'm a general dentist. I'm a general dentist. I do general dentistry. I'm in a family-based practice in a family-based town. I'm not special in any way. I've just got special processes and systems and the way that we zone our diary to ensure that we are maximizing our production and our turnover, which means that we are robust and we are successful and we keep our team members for 20 years and nobody wants to leave, which means our patients get the best service and our patients then see the value in what we're doing and are happy to pay our fees. And by the way, our fees are normal. You know, we're $7.90 for a crown. That in the south of England is more than reasonable, right?
That could be higher within reason. Like 795 is. Yeah.
It's not that's really good value, right?
Yeah,
and so
definitely.
I'm really sharing this to say that by systemizing, by really putting in some solid systems and some very simple rules, you can generate a really good income based upon a fabulous patient journey. It's all about service. It just happens that when you deliver the dentistry in this way, it generates the income. So I would want people to zone their diaries, 7 areas of zoning. I want them to begin to focus on production, not collection. There's a slight difference. Production is what you're generating. So I can't go into this too much. It would take us a couple of hours to do it, but zoning diary is super important. It will have an impact as of today. I've got a client that ultimately, I told him he needs to cancel 2 hours a day, every day now for the next 3 months of the nitty gritty bits. We call it sand. Sand is anything that is generating a production of £100 or less. Rebook 2 hours a day, free that 2 hours a day up for rocks, which is anything that is producing £1,000 and above. And that way he is guaranteed, with even one new patient a day, that slot in as well, he's guaranteed to be grossing £2,000 minimum in those 2 hours that he sidebars the stuff that generally is generating him 350 quid. So it's knowing how to zone that correctly. It's putting the fees up. It's knocking the socks off the patient. It's asking some really good questions and communicating clearly. And then it's asking more questions than it is giving solutions.
That's
Those
interesting.
are
I
the,
mean, even from just listening to you talk there, I'm like, it seems so flipping obvious, but I would never have thought of that. But there you go, and yeah, it's
it is simple though, mate. I mean,
yeah,
we make it more complicated because no one's really given us these tools. We go in and we do our best and we work our best. And I believe that every principal is doing their best. I've got a practice principal who approached me. They have a practice, £1.5 million turnover. That sounds fantastic, right?
yeah.
3% profit.
Whoa.
Now, there are people out there that might listen to this and go, well, whoever that is clearly very silly because, your overheads are higher, but it's when you are doing your best and you're working clinically. If you've got a principal that's working 5 days a week and they're operating and run their business in the evenings and the weekends, and maybe they're a parent and maybe they've got, other responsibilities, it's sometimes very difficult for them to see the wood for the trees. And I think there's an element of that when it comes to simplicity of coaching, is helping people to see and recognize some of the things that they're not aware of. One of my favorite phrases is, you don't know what you don't know. And, like you said, you become aware of something simple and it makes a huge impact. So, these are the quick wins. The other next quick win is quadrant dentistry, not single tooth. It's having the right conversations.
Yeah, yeah, which is how we should be doing dentistry anyway, from the point of view of the patient's comfort, of course. You get them numb on the lower right-hand side, do all the teeth on the lower right-hand side. Some people even say, is that, have I got the right end of the stick there?
Well, kind of, yeah. I mean, so I've got to précis this by saying, for me, again, it's all about service. I almost don't care what my patient chooses. What I care about is that they've been given the choice. So let me give you an example. Let me paint a picture. Imagine that you've got Doris. She comes into your practice. She's like 65. She's got wall-to-wall amalgams. And as is quite typical, she's had typical British dentistry, which is firefighting. Doris, how are you? Any problems? No, great. Oh, I'm going to watch this, watch that. I'll keep an eye, because dentists don't want to be seen as salesy or pushy or recommending something that isn't necessary. But here's the thing. Doris comes in. She's got a large DO in the 5. She's got an MOD amalgam in the 6 and a large MO lingually extended in the 7. If you can picture that, it's quite typical, right, of a 65-year-old in the UK. She's fractured the distolingual cusp from the 6, and there's some secondary caries underneath it. Now, that tooth therefore needs to be treated. If we've asked, I designed this 20-year question, which future paces people about how would you like your teeth to be in, let's say, 20 years. If she's told me she wants to keep her teeth for the next 20 years, then my advice is we've got to treat that decay. Most dentists would feel quite successful if Doris chose the composite over the amalgam. Most dentists would feel really great if she chose the crown over anything direct and she went for an indirect. Because if 40% of the tooth is missing, we know that an indirect restoration is going to be the best result, whether it's an inlay, onlay, or a crown or whatever. That's going to preserve the tooth for the longest period of time, right? So on our traffic light system of treatment planning, the 6 is red. That means it's immediate. For health reasons, for oral health reasons, that has to be treated. But once we have a conversation with Doris and explain about the 5 and the 7, and we color code those orange because they appear to be decay-free, they're not essential to be done for oral health. But when we explain to her that amalgam in the 5 and the 7 that was placed 25 years ago with a sequivalent or Toffer-Meyer matrix band gave her a contact point at the marginal ridge, and that ideally this new beautiful piece of jewelry that we're going to have handcrafted for her on the 6 really wants to have the contact point a third of the way down so that it's easier to clean and it's almost self-cleansing and she's not going to get food trapping and so on and so forth. to give her the opportunity to choose whether she would like to do the 5 and the 7 at the same time, I believe is service. And I believe wholeheartedly that if you don't present the 5 and the 7, then that actually is not serving your patient. Now, whether she chooses to do the 5 and the 7 is irrelevant. It's the fact that she's had the choice and the understanding, because otherwise what happens, and I've seen it and I've done it myself, I've made a beautiful crown and the technician has put the contact point where it is on the 5 and the 7 on the marginal ridge. It ends up food trapping. The patient's pissed off and it looks like I've done bad dentistry and it causes more decay further down the line. I didn't serve the patient because I was embarrassed to talk to them about the 5 and the 7, thinking I might come across pushy. Well, now we talk to every patient about this. We color code it. Red, you must do to be healthy. Orange is worth considering. 68% of our patients choose the orange. So they do the quadrant, right? And actually, when you sit down and crunch the numbers, because our fixed costs remain the same, and it's just our variable costs that change, and because I'll prep 1 tooth in 40 minutes, I can do the 3 teeth in 50 minutes because it's not the prepping that takes time. It 10x's your profit. So that as a quick win, by having that conversation, opening up the possibility that Doris might want to do the 5 and the 7. And if she doesn't, that's okay. There's another benefit is that she knows what's around the corner. She knows what's coming further down the line. And I will be able to refer back to that. Doris, I've done that crown. It's absolutely stunning. It's lasted well. And when I saw you 12 months ago and we chatted about the other 2 teeth, she already remembers that actually the 5 and the 7 are going to need doing, because anything that's orange will eventually one day become red because everything breaks down and wears out. Does that make sense? You're muted, mate. You're muted. I can't hear you.
Whoops, I'm back again. Yeah, totally makes sense. No, it totally makes sense. And when you said quadrant dentistry, I'm actually glad you clarified that, because I'm sure when you said quadrant dentistry, our university definition of that is not just quite aligned with what you just said. You actually built on it a little bit. So no, that's true. That's true. And like you say, you know, I mean, we're almost so scared to have these conversations that we actually kind of sabotage ourselves further down the line. And we make, you know.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And, you know, it's good to have, I mean, I enjoy the fact that I get to clarify what it is that I mean. And ultimately it's about giving patients the choice, right? Because when I first spoke to a client recently, he was like, look, I really don't want to be, you know, that dentist that is telling patients they have to do something that they don't need to do. And I'm like, great, you're the sort of guy I can work with. I'm not going to be working with somebody that says, Doris, you need to do the 5 and the 6 and the 7, because that's not aligned with my integrity and how I present things to my patients. And I'm very clear to my patients, you do not have to do this. And here's why you might consider it. And 68% of them go, do you know what? That makes perfect sense. For all the benefits of it's done in one visit, it's all done at the same time. The technical work on the 6 and the 7 is the same. The composite on the 5, the technical work is made to fit the composite on the 5. It just makes bloody good sense. And if it's not right for them, for whatever reason, maybe financially right now, at least they've had the option and the choice. So yeah, it isn't about doing quadrants per se. It's about opening up the possibility that the patient might want you to. And invariably, lots of them do.
Awesome. You touched upon something a minute ago that was super relevant and every business owner can relate to. And it's you're so focused on what's right in front of you that you're almost plugging away doing the same old things, hoping they're going to get you results. Whereas if you could just tweak a few of the levers behind the scenes, you'll find that those same actions with the same amount of effort get so much more returns for you. But because you're so focused on just blindly working as hard as you can in order to get yourself out of this problem, you're not leveraging that to nearly the same degree as you could be. And it's almost happened to it has happened to me a few times. But then what I've been fortunate enough to do is either have someone who will come along from the outside and say, James, you know, you actually have to do it this way. And then what it means is instead of an hour's effort to get that level of results, it literally takes 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Yeah. But
that's the beauty of coaching, isn't it?
Dude, it's happened to me so many times that now when I feel that happening to myself, I actually think, okay, James, stop what it is that you're doing and just at least have like 10 minutes thought about, is this the best way? Because it's so easy to blindly keep doing the same thing. That's the thing about business. It's more about leverage. It's maximizing the output and minimizing the input and figuring out ways to do that. And if you do that successively enough times, that's where the success is. Business is a little different than anything out than our normal mindset or mindset outside of business, which is just 10 hours input, 20 hours is 100 hours out, or is 10 hours output, or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy in a way to think that I gross more in so I gross more in 3 days. I've got a couple of clients that have got 5 surgery practices, and I gross more in 3 days than their entire practice does working the whole week. And it's purely because we accidentally fell upon all of these systems that we developed, right? So people don't know what they don't know. I mean, I'll give you an example. When I used to play well, I still play tennis, but I played county tennis, and I'm short. But when I had a really good serve, my serve was outstanding, but it was more accidental than it was on purpose. And I couldn't figure out, I kept smacking the ball into the net, and now and again I'd get it right, and I'd be like, I need to repeat that. But you get so stuck in it that you can't see the solution. And so I had a coach come along, and he went, it's really simple. You need to throw the ball 2 centimeters further back. And I was like, what? And so having that guy look from the outside in going, I just course correct, tiny change in a lever took my first serve rate up to 82%. Ridiculous, right? And it is having somebody that kind of understands the process, has been there, done that, worn the t-shirt, and goes, it's 2 centimeters that way and you're sorted. And so, yeah, leverage, like you said, that's what we're doing, is you help people to leverage. And you can pick that, you might pick something up just this one podcast, right? You go, bloody hell, never thought of it doing it that way.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that I noticed. That was it's almost like a mindset in itself. It's like a mindset shift, and moving away from that is what allows you to be successful in that other realm. That's what I've noticed anyway. And like I say, because I've had that happen to me so many times, when I almost have the sixth sense that I'm doing it now at this point, you know. And if you've never been through that, it's quite an enlightening experience. I firmly believe that everybody needs a coach or someone to help them. At least it helped me massively anyway. Let's talk about, so we the things that we've covered, they're more the clinical things inside the business. Let's talk about the man management stuff, and let's talk about the other things that you can notice in a dental practice, or where you can get quick results, or people are tripping up.
Culture is key. It would take too long to talk about how we train that and how we do that, but ultimately having a team that supports you, having a shared vision, and understanding how to communicate with each of those people, right? Principal dentists most principals tend to enjoy change and embrace change because they're self-employed and they own a business, and they don't mind doing some change when they recognize it. Most employees don't like change. They like sameness. It's a personality preference, right? People like sameness. They like to know where they're going and what they're doing. So change management is key, I think, in any business, is reminding people of what's good, reminding people of what's going to remain the same, and then talking to them about what is going to change and why, and what's in it for them. You know, what's the benefit of us doing this? You know, when I originally, one of the reasons I'm a high grosser is, and I joke when I did the practice plan tour, I say, look, I am the laziest dentist in this room. My aim is to do as little as possible. And I pause for a dramatic effect and go, of the things that I don't need to do. So I don't talk to patients anymore, really. I have my TCO do that, trained her in how I wanted to do that. I don't take radiographs, I don't scan, I don't take photographs, I don't do pre-op or post-op instructions. All of that is done so that I am as wet-fingered, forgive the phrase, wet-fingered as possible, doing the higher production treatment that I am uniquely qualified to do. And then I will have other people do as much as possible that's within their GDC framework and they're able to do. bringing your team on that journey has had a massive positive impact, because everybody is doing more than just the normal role. It enabled our business to be more profitable, which meant that they're getting paid more than they really would doing that normal role in another practice. So the HR stuff, I never got involved with the legalities of HR. I outsourced that, but the team training, I did the caring for and the nurturing of somebody's personal and professional development. I wanted to be part of that. I would take people away with me on training courses. We went to Las Vegas, we went to Romania for the DSD training. I think culture within your business is absolutely key. And it is, if you start from service, it's all about serving the patient. They can all jump on board with that. Those people that chase the money don't get the money. Those people that chase the service get both the service and the money.
That change management thing is really clever, because actually the majority of people are quite resistant to it, right? Yeah. And if you're like this high energy entrepreneur / principal coming in saying, oh, we're going to do it this way this week, we're going to change this, and this, then that notion, or the fact that you're habitualized to doing that, might mean that you're doing it again a week after, and then a week after, and then a week after. And some people are that actually is one of the ways that you can lose a lot of your staff. Won't buy into you anymore. They'll just lose interest.
But if you're not consistent, if you don't follow through, then absolutely. But also, if you don't handle things carefully, you can have some saboteurs, and they might not consciously want to be sabotaging what you're trying to do, but oftentimes their fear of change, because you haven't managed the expectations of that change, sometimes their fears of change will cause them to scupper your plans. Oftentimes I find with clients, it is the embedded receptionist or maybe PM that's been there for years that the patients love and adore. And because it's not been managed or explained well enough, this particular person is truly believing that they are putting the patient's needs first by protecting the patient, by not allowing these changes to be implemented. That may be price increase, it may be hour changes, it may be change of personnel, but oftentimes you can find that you've got a saboteur who ultimately has positive intent. And I remind my principals that it is their responsibility, that they haven't managed that change for the PM or the head receptionist well enough for the PM to be absolutely on board with these changes and what it means for them and for their patients. Because I think ultimately many of my team that I've worked with have loved me, but they've loved the patients more. And my wife is a prime example. She would do everything to ensure the patient journey was phenomenal, even at our own cost at times, and to put the patients first. And that was a hugely beneficial thing for us as a business, but also our relationships with our patients. And so, yeah, you've got to manage that change. You've got to manage these people and treat them as they need to be treated and understand. Really good book is Who Moved My Cheese by Blanchard. Is it Ken Blanchard?
I've never heard of that book. Is it good?
Yeah, that's about change, but yeah, it's good. Who Moved My Cheese? It's an old one. It's a really thin, easy read. If you need help in understanding how people respond to change in different ways, Who Moved My Cheese?
Oh, okay, interesting. I'm going to keep an eye out for that. I've just about got around to reading How to Win Friends and Influence People, which
Dale Carnegie.
Yeah, I'm sure you've probably read that, right?
I've done a load of Carnegie courses actually, many years ago, when you were in short trousers, sunshine.
Because he's a huge NLP advocate as well, isn't he?
So he was really way before NLP. So his book way before, and I think that he accidentally it was about being more like the other person. It was showing genuine interest. It was pre-NLP. But there's lots of similarities. And the reason I say that is NLP is an understanding of how our brain works. And I think Dale Carnegie in the 40s, which is when he wrote his books, right? I think Dale Carnegie was really just talking about human behavior and human nature as he saw it, and some of the things that work beautifully well because we're human. He didn't really understand the psychology or why it worked. He just knew it would work. So when you show genuine interest, well, NLP comes along in the 70s from Grinder and Bandler and begins to help us understand why that works. And so you understand, if I do this, this happens, and this is because I was in rapport, and rapport creates a sense of likeness, and that increases the level of trust, and so on and so forth. So there's lots of little things that NLP allowed us to understand how it is that these things work. And then beyond NLP, the neuroscience, there's the latest research that comes out almost weekly now is adding even more value to that. And the understanding of language came from Milton Erickson. So why, when you say certain things, does it have this effect? And then since then, we've had Robert Cialdini. Robert Cialdini and his principles of influence is phenomenal. And I've done my whole training on getting recommendations, referrals, and reviews, 5-star reviews, is all based on Cialdini's principles. I trained with his academy in the States, and one of his trainers happens to be a dentist. And so utilizing what I learned, I put it into my dental practice. And that's why no marketing for 18 years and 30 new patients. We tap into the human principles of influence genuinely and with integrity in order to have constant recommendations, referrals, and 5-star reviews. And up until I sold the practice, I don't know where we're at right now, but we had over 100 Google reviews, all genuine, all 5-star, not a single one less than 5-star. And that's because we ask for it, but we tap into things like reciprocity, and it's brilliant fun to learn it. So we share that as well, so you can get this constant, never-ending recommendations without having to place an advert. We like new patients from adverts or marketing as well, but it doesn't need to be done.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh, the thing about that book was, so I'm about halfway through it. So the thing about it is, through reading that book, it's all kind of stuff that you maybe 90% of it, but then there's that little 10% in there that just reframes things from a slightly different angle.
What's the best thing you've got out of it so far?
Here's the best thing, and this is kind of what I was building up to. Basically, it was saying that if you incentives work way better than reprimands, basically, or criticisms, right? So he was saying that every single time you go into any sort of arrangement or deal or transaction with anybody, if you frame it as a mutual positive sum game rather than you're winning and they're losing, or you're losing and they're winning, if you make it look like it's a symbiotic thing that you're both winning on, or not even make it look like that, just explain to them why it is, because it always should be, and make that clear, then at that point they understand it's an incentive for you both, and it's a way more effective transaction. And I knew that already, but and I usually do that, but it just made me think to myself, how can I do that every single time? How can I explain it in that sense? Not just most of the time or just when I feel it's necessary, but literally every single time. And then for me,
figured that out?
Have I? Beg pardon?
Did you get the answer to that? Have you figured that out? How can you do that every single time?
I mean, I feel like it's just a perspective, isn't it, or a vantage point, isn't it, where every single thing that you do, or we should always try to play positive sum games so we both win rather than winners or losers. I suppose it's just actively looking for the reason why the other person's also a winner and making that clear to them, rather than basing it on some sort of assumption that they understand that already, because otherwise it mightn't appear that way to them unless we spell it out to them and make it clear. Does that make sense?
Love it. It makes perfect sense. It just so happens I posted, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, about this very thing, packaged in a slightly different way. And let me tell you, you can tell me whether you think it's aligned. And that is, I talk about a UFC with every new patient I meet. Okay. And it's not a fight with Conor McGregor, it's an upfront contract.
Right.
And I'm very purposeful, and my intent is is there, which is, I'll say, James, you know, my job today is to make sure that this is, without a shadow of a doubt, the best experience you've ever had in a dental practice. I'm going to make sure that everything I do for you is comfortable. I'm going to make sure that you're in control and in charge. If you want to stop me, you stop me straight away. And my aim is to knock your socks off so that when you walk out of here, you're like, oh my God, that's the best experience I've ever had. And they're responsive to that. They're like, okay. Some are a little skeptical. And then I say, and when I do, it's a presupposition. It's presupposing that I'm doing it, not if I do. Yeah. That gives doubt. When I do, I'm going to ask that, because I've knocked your socks off, I'm going to ask that you tell your family, your friends, your colleagues, and your friends, only the nice ones, but that you tell them how good I am and how well I looked after you, so that I can still be here for you in the next 20 years and look after your family and friends in the same way that I'm going to look after you. So when I do that, would it be okay that you go and tell people? And their answer is yes. So then I'll give them their new patient experience, which knocks their socks off. No one's ever spoken to me like that before. And I'm like, great. And now you're going to tell people, right? Or I'll use my injection technique where they have no idea they've had an injection. And I'll go, good, aren't I? And I'll play with it. And the aim of the game is for me to knock their socks off and have this level with you where it's a win-win for both of us. I genuinely want them to have the best experience ever. And I'm genuinely going to ask them to tap into that, to then recommend family and friends, because they want their family and friends to have the best experience as well. So I think, to me, that kind of is that positive sum for everybody. So everybody is winning.
I like that a lot. And then, yeah, you frame it from the start. And yeah, there's absolutely no reason why you can't ask for a Google review, because it is a positive. And if you frame it from the point of view that it's a positive sum game, which is what you're saying, which I like a lot.
Yeah, I like it. Positive sum game.
Positive sum games, not zero sum games. Zero sum games are where there's a winner and a loser, and the exact proportion at which you win, the other person is also lost, if that makes sense. So you basically, you take their money, you gain, they lose that exact amount of money. It's a zero sum overall. And it's kind of a mindset almost that if you look for
that's beautiful, because that's the same in dentistry, right? If people are chasing the money in their dental practice, that's a zero sum game, because they're not adding enough value to the patient.
Yes.
For me, it's about adding that value. It's about showing that value. And ultimately then my patients are prepared to pay more money for that value because they value it. So that's a zero sum game. It's probably in every area of life, right? Probably in relationships as well, significant relationships.
Yeah, no, it's a mindset. And basically, if you can just go through any time that you are entering into any sort of transaction, if you have the mindset where you think, no matter what this person gives me in return, money, whatever it is, some sort an item, where there's physical or not, whatever that they give you in return, if you can think to yourself, how can I give this person at least as much or more back, right? So that they're always a winner. You'll always have happy customers, happy spouses, happy friends, everything, because people know it's a no-brainer. Why would I not be friends? Why would I not work with this guy? And whatever I give him, he gives me more back every time, you know?
Yeah.
Or at least the same. Beautiful, right? But for some reason,
a great question.
It's hard to come by that mindset. I don't know why.
I think once you know the question, I mean, you've done my course, right? And a question is the most powerful language pattern there is. A statement can either be accepted or rejected in a heartbeat. So if I said, we're on Facebook, you either go, yes, we are, or no, we're not. If I say to you, what kind of platform are we on right now? You might go, well, it's Facebook, or it's Facebook Live, or it's this, or you come up with different answers. One of the biggest problems with human beings is we ask ourselves really crap questions, like, why did that happen to me? Or what, why did she do that? Your subconscious mind has to service that with an answer. And if you ask a crap question, you generally will get a crap answer. The quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. And when you ask that question, what is it that I can do to ensure that I'm giving as much value to this person as possible, that I'm giving more than they can possibly give me, then you come up with the answer. Does that make sense? So the fact that people don't come across the mindset, actually, all they need to do is write that question down or remember that question and then ask themselves that question, and you come up with the right answer.
Love it. Love it. And that's a huge part of, I honestly think that the people who do the best in business, it's about your technical ability in whatever field that you've chosen, but it's about having insane levels of emotional intelligence and being able to put yourself in the other person's shoes. It's a massive, massive, massive part that is linked to your success in business. And it's still underrated. The soft skills are the hard skills, not the other way around. The soft skills are the actual hard skills. Seriously. Barry, we're coming up to...
They're not taught well, are they?
No, they're not. It's not... Yes, they need to be... It can be taught to a good degree. I do believe there's an innate ability there, but we can all improve 100%, and it's not really spoken about. In fact, what is the top two? I think from memory, that I was reading a poll or a survey once, and it was like the two top things that ensure people have a good time or have an enjoyable visit to the dentist. Right, number one, the fact that the dentist was pain free, and number two, the dentist's persona, soft skills, whether or not they clicked. Is actually the technical quality of the work is way down the list, you know. So if we want to retain our patients, there's the two places that we should look right there. And as well as that, work very hard to get good at the actual technical side, the hard skills as well. But all I'm saying is that even if you are extremely talented at whatever procedures you prefer to do, whatever your clinical dentistry, you'll still struggle to retain patients unless you look at those two things, you know. So we're almost sabotaging ourselves, because in order to actually practice that dentistry, we have to be able to talk to patients as well. That's the point of it.
There's a phrase by I think it was Breonna Brown said, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I think many of us in our profession spend hours and thousands on developing our skills, but then don't spend time and energy on developing the skills in order to be able to communicate to the patient clearly, so that we get to play with our skills and practice our skills. So the two have to go hand in hand, without a doubt, mate.
There we go. Boom. Barry, you've been very generous with your time today. We're coming up to the 50 minutes mark. Anything you'd like to say?
Awesome, mate.
It's been fun. It always is fun, mate. We'll have you back on the group in no time. Wisdom is not sold by the hour. Wisdom is sold on value. There'll be some gems in there today that someone can instantly make more money and go into work tomorrow and literally make more money, or turn their practice around should they be struggling.
Yeah, and there's so much more. So if anybody has a question, they can DM me. I'll happily answer.
Top stuff. Barry Oulton, you'll be able to find him in the group members. Barry, as I say, thanks so much for your time today. We'll catch up again super soon.
You're a legend, mate. Good to see you. Take care.
See you soon.